As video games have grown more complex and nuanced and capable of telling more affecting stories, their protagonists have seen similar kinds of growth as well. We've seen Mario going from just rescuing the princess to, well, okay, Mario's still pretty much doing just that, but other video game characters are doing far more for far more complicated reasons. Video game protagonists have grown into truly engaging characters with complex motivations, believable actions, emotionally resonant relationships, and sometimes even actions we may not fully approve of. Here, we're going to talk about 15 of the best ones in recent games.
I should have asked someone else, but
I'm the best guy you know at frightening decent people.
It wasn't that I didn't love you, Arthur. You know that.
Arthur Morgan, Red Dead Redemption 2. With Red Dead Redemption 1, Rockstar had delivered probably their best protagonist ever with John Marston. So before Red Dead 2's launch, there were many who were more than a little skeptical of this new protagonist that they'd be playing as. It's fair to say that when the game came out, Arthur Morgan proved all of his doubters completely wrong. He is, without a doubt, one of the most compelling protagonists we've ever seen in a game. Conflicted, complex, flawed, brought to life by excellent writing and a memorable performance by Roger Clark. Red Dead 2's story is surely its greatest strength, and Arthur Morgan is surely that story's greatest strength. Lincoln Clay, Mafia 3.
Kill me. I'll be replaced tomorrow. No one will even notice.
You're wrong. Everyone will notice.
Mafia 3 is, to put it mildly, a flawed game. When it works, it can be monotonous, repetitive, and unoriginal. And when it isn't working, it's getting bogged down by crippling glitches and immersion-breaking technical issues. But if there's one thing about the game that is an unequivocal success, it's the story. More importantly, its protagonist. Watching the journey of Lincoln Clay and watching him tear through the criminal underbelly of New Bordeaux while he's on his own bloody crusade is a captivating experience, one that almost makes the game's other issues more tolerable. ALOY, Horizon Zero Dawn. The industry at large was taken aback by how confidently Guerrilla delivered a large action RPG with a complex, engaging story on their first try. And ALOY was a big part of why that story proved to resonate with players so much. Driven by her search for answers about herself and the world that she lives in, capable of taking on the threats thrown at her, and always ready with a classic quip even while she battles mechanical dinosaurs, ALOY strikes the perfect balance between being lost in a large, unfamiliar world and being completely sure of what her next step should be. Adam Jensen, Deus Ex, Human Revolution, and Mankind Divided. Throughout Deus Ex, Human Revolution, and Mankind Divided, the mechanically augmented security soldier turned super agent Adam Jensen never shies away from a challenge, and always takes on whatever comes his way with the composure, poise, and cool that you'd expect from a man of his abilities. Given the way that the Deus Ex series has been left hanging these past few years, there's no telling when or if he will come back. Let's just hope it happens, and happens sooner rather than later. Clementine, TELLTALE'S The Walking Dead.
You were having a nightmare. Same one you used to have all the time. About what happened at the ranch.
When you think of Telltale's 4 seasons of The Walking Dead games, the first thing you think of is Clementine, one of the best, most beloved characters we've seen in a game this side of 2010. She spent the entire first season endearing herself to millions of players as an innocent, vulnerable child we had to take care of, and then over the course of the sequels grew into a capable fighter herself, while retaining the things that made her such a great character. The journey of her character from beginning to end is one of the best things to have come out of the entire The Walking Dead property, across all media, which is no small praise. Peter Parker or Spider-Man, Marvel's Spider-Man. Insomniac Games' take on Peter Parker, aka your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, already had a very strong base to work off of. but as history has taught us, there's no guarantees even with this character. And I'm looking at you, Spider-Man 3's emo Peter Parker. With 2018's Marvel's Spider-Man though, Insomniac wrote and portrayed Spider-Man like this is exactly what they were put on this earth to do.
Oops, guess we're stuck in here for a while. Want to play 20 questions? No? How about we thumbless? Okay, face punch it is.
Wisecracking, vulnerable, and striking that delicate balance between awkward as Peter and confident as Spidey, the wall crawler and his portrayal were one of the best things about an already excellent game. Kratos, God of War 2018.
That was impressive. You didn't hurt your back, did you?
I did not hurt my back.
Until not that long ago, Kratos was the very definition of a one-dimensional caricature. Over the course of 6 games, he'd driven home the point that he was an angry, bloodthirsty, relentless man driven by nothing but revenge and gratuitous violence. 2018's God of War came along and did the impossible. It turned him into a sympathetic character, and it did so not by ignoring his horrible past, but by embracing it, and making Kratos face and come to terms with that horrible past. With a combination of masterful writing, directing, and acting, with just one game, Kratos went from being a laughably one-dimensional personification of rage to one of the most complex and layered protagonists in video games. Geralt of Rivia, The Witcher 3. Much like the series he has starred in, Geralt had been around for a long while before The Witcher 3 came along, of course, but it was only with his 2015 outing that he really shot into the stratosphere in terms of popularity.
Long as I'm here, you'll got no one.
That a challenge?
Why not? I've not fought a Witcher before. Defeat me and I shall let him go. Stand aside. Would you wait, sir, for the dribble to subside?
Makes no difference to me.
Justice. Stunt. Fight.
The Witcher 3 nailed so many things in their execution, and its portrayal of the white-haired, gruff protagonist was one of those many things. Combining his dry wit with a flat, deadpan tone, Geralt has one of the most unique voices and personalities we've ever seen in video game protagonists. And the fact that he has such a strong, well-defined personality, in spite of the fact that we, as players, have so much control over his narrative actions, speaks a great deal about how strongly written he is as a character. ALYX VANCE, Half-Life ALYX. Who would have thought that we'd play a new mainline Half-Life game in 2020? And that it'd be a VR exclusive, and that we'd be playing as ALYX VANCE instead of Gordon Freeman. Sure enough, right off the bat, Alyx had the advantage of not being a silent protagonist, but it also helped that she had the personality and character to back that voice with something that we could very easily root for. The fact that the game's ending signifies interesting and mysterious things for the future of Alyx as a character only makes her arc throughout that game that much more interesting. Jill Valentine, Resident Evil 3 Remake. Resident Evil 3's remake was definitely not the indisputable success that its predecessor was. And while there's many issues with the game that we could spend a long time talking about, it also has some things that we really liked, such as the excellent way it portrayed its protagonist, Jill Valentine. Jill has always been a crucial character in the series, so to say that her portrayal in this year's remake is probably the best ever is huge praise.
You're a fool. You're a fool! If I die, you'll never find out the truth.
I don't mind a little detective work.
Stepping into the shoes of this assured, capable, seasoned zombie killer after having played as relative rookies in Resident Evil games over the last couple of years felt great, and sure enough, Jill had enough snappy confidence to go along with that. BAYEK, Assassin's Creed Origins. Assassin's Creed as a franchise has a history of really good protagonists, from Ezio Auditore to Edward Kenway, and Bayek, the protagonist of 2017's Origins, definitely ranks high in that list. The simultaneously gentle, strong, and compassionate Medjai's quest for revenge is unique in that it doesn't dull his more human aspects, and Bayek's humor and his kindness towards decent people in general continue to shine through in the entire game, making for a protagonist that's very easy to like and even easier to root for. Joel, The Last of Us.
All right, now, you're going to lean right into that stock, because it is going to kick a hell of a lot more than any baby rifle.
Okay.
Go and pull the bolt back. Grab it right there. Just tug it. There you go. Now, as soon as you fire, you're going to want to get another round in there quick. Listen to me. If I get into trouble down there, you make every shot count. Yeah?
I got this.
All right.
Obviously, Joel was going to be on this list. On paper, he's a generic, gruff, merciless survivor in a brutal world. But it's the outstanding execution of those well-worn beats that make him stand out so much. Joel, like most other characters in The Last of Us, is flawed, conflicted, and not always the good guy, to say the very least. But he is so grounded, so honestly portrayed, that even in his lowest moments, we can, knowing his tortured past and how it still haunts him, understand why he does what he does, even if we might not agree with him. The creatives at Naughty Dog and Troy Baker, of course, deserve all of the credit in the world for creating one of the best video game characters we've ever seen. NOCTIS LUCIS CAELUM, Final Fantasy XV. Final Fantasy XV has many, many flaws, but it has a heart of gold underneath all of those that makes it endearing to so many fans and players. Nothing exemplifies that better than its protagonist, Noctis. In spite of his design and seeming demeanor, both of which peg him to be the stereotypical angsty emo anime protagonist trope, he ends up being a charming, pleasant, and fun character, with believable struggles and relationships with the people around him. He's flawed but well-meaning, and ultimately a victim of his destiny. Final Fantasy XV is worth trying just to see his character arc. SENUA, HELLBLADE: SENUA'S Sacrifice.
Senua pushes away a world that conspired to cause so much suffering. There's nothing to go back to, and worse to look forward to. Why don't you join us? Maybe you too have a part to play in this story.
Depicting mental illness in a real yet respectful way in any media is a monumental task. When it comes to games, it's hard to think of anything that does it even half as well as HELLBLADE. That's a big part of what makes Senua, the protagonist, such a compelling character. The obstacles and challenges she faces are terrifying and at times intangible, and the way that affects her character and her journey is fascinating to see. Brought to life by incredible production values and a deft handling of the subject matter, Senua is one of the most memorable protagonists we've seen in games in years, if not ever. William B.J. Blazkowicz, Wolfenstein: The New Order and the New Colossus. Machine Games' transformation of the franchise saw Wolfenstein becoming much more story-focused than ever before, which it did with great aplomb. And that, of course, bled over into Blazkowicz's character as well. Where previously he had no personality, now he has an excess of it. Where previously he was bland and forgettable, now, thanks to excellently written dialogue, incredible acting, and despondent internal monologues, he burrows into your brain and refuses to leave. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.